On the other side, while we're still on the West, though, we did get a coaching firing. Monty Williams out as head coach of the Phoenix Suns. 3 years, $21 million left on his contract. We got a finals appearance during the Monty era. We got that loss to the Dallas Mavericks last year on Phoenix's home court. And then we get this loss against the Denver Nuggets on Phoenix's home court. And I would imagine the nature of those two losses probably factored in quite a bit, in addition to new owner Matt Ishbia may just want his guy in there. And once you combine the two, maybe that's what it was. But Steve, what were your initial thoughts when that news came?
It was wild to me. I was shocked. I thought personally he would probably be on notice, and next year the seat may be a little bit warmer. I didn't really anticipate it happening this fast. I kind of Euro-stepped past the letting scouts go announcement, but that probably should have been the clue.
Yeah.
That, hey man, we're making some moves here. What a run for Monty. It's going to be lost in that. You go from 34 wins to 51 wins, from 51 wins to 64 wins. You drop down to 45. You got a finals appearance. The thing is, you had 2 second-round losses that ended
badly.
Bad. And like with new people, generally they want the opportunity to choose their own folks. I mean, you saw it with the Hawks and the Nets and moves really quietly. Like, hey, we're getting our own staff in here. It's like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
And as unfortunate as this business is, new ownership probably wants their own people, especially if they paid that much and they did that much to get Kevin Durant. They probably want, some say-so in who's there. The Suns and the Bucks being in the finals 2 years ago and both of those coaches not having jobs is just wild to me. Like, what is success for a coach these days? What is it?
Hey man, you gotta win 55 and make the conference finals. And even if you lose in the conference finals, it's got to be hard fought. Like I talked about a little bit once the Bud announcement came. I was like, man, shoot, I thought between the injuries and stuff, like he would have got one more crack at it. But that was just kind of how it went. And on the Suns front, those 2 losses in the second round and the nature of those losses, I guess that really left the sour taste. So.
I just wish it was talked about better. I wish coaches were talked about better. And I know people like to say, Steve, you just give him bail. You always defend the coaches. Someone has to at some point, because Joe Mazzulla, in his first year as a NBA head coach, his first year wins 57 games. And we are 3 days ago removed from Joe Mazzulla ain't ready. Joe Mazzulla's in the conference finals. What are we doing? Doc got this Philly team to 54 wins. JB Bickerstaff got the Cavs to 51 wins. Oh, he's terrible. Tibbs did all this work with New York. Nah, he's bad. What coaches are getting praise? It's just Spo, Pop, Will Hardy, and Dagnall. That's it. And Mike Brown this year. That's the list, right?
I think so.
Why?
And even then, like, and we talked about this throughout the regular season. Like, I don't think this was Spo's best regular season. So it's not even like it's been all flowers for him this year. So like I do think in general, like, I struggle with how to word this because in all walks of life, if you don't know, you don't know. And I think with coaching in particular, like maybe 1% of folks get a semblance of an idea of what happens like behind the scenes with coaches, what goes into install and what the collaboration process is like and all that good stuff. And of that 1%, I would imagine like 90% have been like on staffs themselves or have worked in the league in some capacity. So for the general public, all you see is, hey, did the lineup change? Did my team win? And if those things did not happen, it's, I guess, easy to fall into we would have wanted this didn't happen and the coach didn't make this happen. This is your job to direct these things happening. So therefore, you are bad. And that's not always how that works.
No. Like, how do we destroy the coaches but also talk about how much of a make or miss league it is? I just want it to get better. I want people to understand just because there are adjustments that are made, it does not guarantee they're going to work. It's not going to change the result every single time. And at some point, you run out of adjustments. Every playoff series, it shifts from how good your team is to can they solve this very specific problem right now. Look at the Philadelphia-Boston series. Look at the ebb and flow of that series. It was very much, hey, how do we get James Harden open? How do we get Joel open? Boston, how do we take that away? And you saw as many things as Philadelphia was trying to do. Let's set a high pick and roll for James. Let's go empty corner. Let's try and flip the angles. Game 5, hey, cut from the wing. Let's open up some space so that pocket pass is open. Hey, that pocket pass is open. That's great. Boston's response, Robert Williams, you guard PJ Tucker. You are the drop. Al, you stand there, recover. Robert Williams, you contest. Oh boy, what do we do? Let's move PJ Tucker around in game 7. Yeah. That first quarter was the most that PJ Tucker looked like PJ Tucker in Philadelphia. That man was cutting, screening, knocking down shots, a little bit of drive and kick. That's the adjustment, though. And if you can't ultimately solve it, you lose. And sustain it, you lose. And that's okay. But I prefer you tell me what actually failed than, they ain't try nothing. Because that's not true. Golden State tried a whole bunch of stuff. Cleveland tried a whole bunch of stuff against New York. They could not move New York from their help. And they could not make enough shots to make them pay. Just watch it. Just watch the game. Please, 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 please. I'm here for you. I am here for you. Please.
Steve is frustrated. We talked about this during the watch party where it just turned into a Philly slander fest, which, again, one, jokes over facts is always funny to me, or is generally funny to me. So, I'd never want to be like, we should never joke at all. No player should ever get criticized. Like, that's not the point that I ever want to make. Mm-hmm. I do think once it goes into Doc didn't do anything. Like, yes, he did. Boston countered these things. And even to your PJ Tucker point, they moved him around the chessboard. We saw elements of that in game 5 and game 6 where they tried to move him around. But it really popped in game 7 because PJ was knocking down shots. Which, the players have to execute whatever the adjustment is anyway. But PJ Tucker moves around a bit, and at the end of the day, the whole point of them moving him around is because Boston didn't plan on guarding him like that. That's why he was moving. And that speaks to a personnel issue with the spacing. I saw criticisms of, hey, where was the space? Which also kind of drove me crazy. It's why didn't Joel put his head down to get to the rim, but also this spacing is terrible. Well, that's probably why he couldn't dominate the paint in a way. And that's independent of all the things that Boston did with him specifically. Here's Al Horford. Here's Marcus Smart with Al Horford coming in your lap. Here's Robert Williams in the starting lineup. Boston did a lot. And with PJ Tucker and the spacing issue and Philly Jeffy trying to move him around, okay, let's go with more George Niang. Let's go with more D'Anthony Melton. Wait a minute, Jason Tatum has 25 in the first half. Why? He likes attacking these dudes.
It also doesn't help that Jason Tatum did not care about a single thing that Boston did Philadelphia did in that game. Hey, you want to go zone? Cool. Here's this pull up. Hey, you want to go late switch with Joel Embiid? Here's this pull up. Hey, switching that y'all been doing? Here's this pull up. Oh, sweet. Melton? Bye. It's tough, man.
It's just tough. With some of it just kind of highlights, and I ended up tweeting about this as well. Boston just had more options than Philadelphia did in terms of the personnel. And Steve, I joked with you about it during the watch party. I was like, man, Grant Williams is checking in during garbage time. Grant Williams would be what in Philadelphia? Their 6th or 7th man and just firmly in the rotation? That speaks to the depth in Boston being able to, they started this series with Horford at the 5, and then they flowed into Horford, Robert Williams, a staple of the regular season for him when everyone was healthy, and definitely a staple last year. They flowed into their staple later in the series because okay, well, I guess we have to do this now. Do you know how much of a luxury it is for a lineup that kicked tail and got you to the finals last year to be the back pocket adjustment in a series?